Let's go right to the next one. I now recognize Representative Kat Cammack, the gentlewoman from Florida. Ms. Cammack proudly serves Florida's 3rd Congressional District. She's a member of the House Ag Committee, Energy and Commerce Committees, and chairs the Emerging Tech Task Force. Thank you for being here.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I don't see the ranking member, but I am grateful for the opportunity to be here today. Earlier this year, I introduced H.R. 143, the Unauthorized Spending Accountability Act, aka the USA Act. And yesterday in Oversight Committee, it was marked up and passed. So we're very encouraged that this bill has some great movement. It's important because Congress has a responsibility to know and to expressly authorize where taxpayer dollars are going. And right now, we are not meeting that responsibility. In fact, we haven't met that responsibility in over 30 years. This upcoming fiscal year, Congress is slated to spend $892 billion on unauthorized programs and agencies. Some have never been authorized by Congress, and some haven't been reviewed in 10, 20, even 30 years. This means no oversight, no accountability, and no guarantee that these programs are still working for the American people. And that's, quite frankly, a slap in the face to every single American taxpayer in the country. In total, 1,264 programs and agencies have expired authorizations, but miraculously have appropriations. And to put a fine point on it, 49% of all the authorizations that exist have expired, and many of them have expired over a decade ago. Our bill, the USA Act, H.R. 143, puts a stop to that, and it creates a 3-year step-down process for any program operating without a current authorization. A 10% reduction in year 1, 15% in years 2 and 3, and if Congress can't be bothered to do their job and reauthorize the program or agency with a short 3-year sunset, then the program self-terminates, plain and simple. This isn't about gutting programs, it's about forcing Congress to do its job. With a $38 trillion debt hanging over our kids and grandkids, the days of autopilot spending need to end. So before I wrap up, I want to touch on 2 additional ideas that I think could help get our house in order. First is zero-based budgeting. Right now, the federal government basically starts every year by saying, we spent this much last year, so we're just going to add a little bit more this year. It makes absolutely no sense. Families don't budget that way, companies don't budget that way, so zero-based budgeting means that every agency will start at 0 and has to explain what they actually need. It brings back common sense into the process. And second, we need a clear plan to pay down the debt. We can't keep pretending that $38 trillion that we owe is not a problem. Interest alone is eating up the money that should be going to real priorities. In fact, the interest on our debt, as we all know, has outpaced our spending on defense. To put this in terms that everyone here in the room, but of course watching at home, can understand, every person in the United States today under the age of 18 now owes the government $500,000. My 3-month-old daughter, Augusta, was born with $500,000 of national debt on her shoulders. That is fundamentally unfair, it's disgusting, and we are robbing the futures of our kids and our grandkids. So a structured debt repayment plan, once deficit neutral, goes like this. You peg a percentage of the GDP to mandatory spending, which then goes to the principal on the debt. I am agnostic to what that percentage could be. It could be 0.5%, it could be 5%. But if it is pegged to mandatory spending, then that means we are making a deliberate effort in paying down the national debt. So, for context, if we pegged 3% of the GDP, which would adjust for the cyclical nature of our economy when it contracts or when it expands, we would say 3% of GDP going to principal, assuming nominal economic growth, roughly 4%, but we kept spending flat, I know, would eliminate the national debt in 25 years. 25 years. Now, if we said, we're going to do this with a real scenario, because we know Congress spends money like drunken sailors, we say we're going to keep spending as it's going, but we have conservative economic growth, that 3% on autopilot to our national debt would wipe it out in 42 years. At least we would be sending a message that we're serious about paying down our national debt, and it would save us from some of the bigger fights about priorities. The importance of this cannot be overstated, and really, the biggest threat to our national security, being our national debt, has to be addressed before it addresses us. These are not complicated ideas, they're just responsible ones. And alongside the USA Act, they give us a real path towards getting this country back on solid footing. So I thank you all for your time. Thank you for your consideration. And with that, Mr. Chair, I yield.